richer, smarter, better, faster, words everywhere.
Thank you. Small change of presentations. Oh, sorry, I closed mine. That's unfortunate. All right. I usually start with a trailer. Hopefully it works.
Greetings, Geralt. Remember me? We met in White Orchard. I helped you find Yennefer.
Okay. So obviously it doesn't work on this laptop, so you won't see it. Sorry. Right. Passing on to the presentation. Sorry about that. Again, my name is Stan Just. I'm a producer and since yesterday also an R&D manager at CD Projekt Red. And I have been working on The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, and I will be talking about this game today. A couple of words about myself at the beginning. My background is in psychology, organizational psychology and consumer behavior psychology, but I also finished Masters of Business and Administration Studies this year at University in Quebec. I've been in this industry for about 6 years, and I've been working on various games, mobiles, PC games, multi-platform games, including Two Worlds 2 franchises, Anomaly, and now The Witcher 3, including the expansion packs. All right, and I will be talking about improving production. And I need to avoid this light in front of me. Improving production. And improving production, saying working on a cycle of gathering the data, identifying opportunities, how to improve the process, designing improvements, executing on them, and controlling the results. But most importantly, examples, examples, and examples. More like here. All right. Okay, and that's how this process will look like. There won't be much visuals this time. In Hamburg, I had a more arty presentation. Right now, it will be more boring, so we will look at me most of the time. All right, but the goal is to improve. The goal is to improve production. The goal is to improve the process of developing your game. And what kind of fields are we interested in? Well, as a manager, you probably will be interested in improving the quality of your game, scope of it, reducing the time, reducing the cost of the production, and also, last but not least, sustaining, if not improving, the employee satisfaction so that they can continue to actually make further games with you. All right, start with gathering the data. First point. How can we gather data? Well, we start with the basic, performance data. By performance data, I mean data about how much time, for example, it takes your team to make a model, to make a concept art, to make a dialogue, any kind of a feature. If you don't have historical data of the previous project that's just finished, just ask your guys, try to establish some sort of standards. Why? Because later on, when you negotiate the scope of your project, for example, with the art directors. So the discussion may look like the art director comes to you and says, yeah, we need to place a huge castle in the middle of the world. It will improve the quality of the game so much. Okay, but what's the cost, right? How long will it take your team to actually build it? Well, not that long. We are experienced. It will take, we'll cover that. And then if you have standards, if you have the performance data from before, you can say, all right, but previously it took you 3-4 months to do a similar thing. And then you say, all right, so your date is moving forward 4 months. What can you do about it? Then you can have arguments actually to discuss this change. Without the performance data, without the basics, without gathering this and analyzing this, you cannot have a valid argument. So this is the basics, and this is the way how you can pinpoint the weakest spots on your project. So to see what takes the biggest chunk of your time, what takes the large amount of the money that you're spending. Postmortems. Few words about that. Many companies don't do that actually. Everybody, like, if you ask anybody from the conference, yes, you need to do it. Have you done that for since like last few projects? And it's getting more shaky then, because people like I have the same experiences in my company, the companies that I worked for, is that when we're finishing the project, there's always another project, which is like pushing very hard for the time and resources right now. And people just tend to get into the new exciting thing and just forget about the past of like, let's just like forget about it. It was crunching, it was hard. I don't want to recall that situation. But do it for the closure and list all things, but pick the only few important points that you can address. That would be my advice to you. So, and few most important points that you can address, not the points that are most important, but for example, unfixable. Like I had this point one time where it has been said that we need to figure out the design right from the start, the right design. Like from the first idea, it should be right, then we'll save so much time on iterations. That's a great idea, although it's not like very practical. Like game development's iterative process, we need to have this time. So pick the points that you can address and focus on them, remember them. So when the shit hits the fan later on during the production, you can say, those are the points that we should address because, and we wanted to address because those were our post-mortem notes. And observation, also a very interesting thing, like that I actually saw on my recent work in City Project. Previously I haven't like done that ever. It's just like sit back and see what your team is actually doing, how they spend their time during the day. And you will be amazed of the results, because somebody can say that it takes me so much time to deliver this feature because it requires creative thinking and like artistic approach and etc., etc. And then you sit back and you see that he's like clicking through some stupid shit because he lacks the tool, for example, or an update or a plugin or something like that. He spends like hours of stupid clicking and then an hour of creative thinking. And you think to yourself, all right, so we aren't very like optimal about this, right? It takes too much time. In management, you will say that it presents a lot of optimization opportunities, this situation. All right, and asking questions, very important thing. If you are asked questions like, is it done or is it ready, you're doing it wrong. Ask the guy instead, can we review this together with our art director tomorrow, a week before your promotion talk? If you formulate it that way, the answer might be totally different. I had the experiences of asking people, is it done, is it done, is it done, from different departments. Everybody said yes. When you open up the game, it crashes. And it's like, okay, I feel like my job is done because I asked. Their job is done because they did it, obviously, because it worked in the engine, for example, for each of them in the different periods of the day. But then, like, the result is totally different. It doesn't work. All right, so we're gathering the data from postmortems, observations, performance data. And now, how to identify improvements. Like, I talked about this in the performance data. So if you have already some charts, for example, producers love charts. So if you have some charts, there's always like a bigger chunk of it. And this one you should address. And I have this example of dialogues. I'm managing right now, managing cinematics and audio department. Previously I also worked with characters and concept arts. But I will be talking a lot about dialogues because we did so much with this department. So, if you ask a guy how much a feature of a dialogue sequence, so Avatar is talking with an NPC in an RPG game. Pretty simple. So how do we do it? We do it in 3 phases: a draft phase, an alpha stage, and a beta stage. Obviously, let's say, to simplify the process. And the thing is that, let's say that in draft phase, we need 1 day. For the alpha, we need another day. And for a beta, we need 3rd day. So the whole process, the feature, takes us 3 days. But if you reformulate the question and ask when the shippable version will be, when the beta will be finished, it can be within 3 months. It can be even within a year. And why is that? Because again, game dev is an iterative process. We're doing, from the start, we're doing all the sections, all the dialogues. So we had like 1,503 dialogue sequences in Witcher in a draft phase, then going up and all the way down with the alpha stage, and then we are addressing beta stage. That's why the span from starting the feature to actually delivering it is so long. And now, if you see something like that, if you see some kind of a process like this, you can ask yourself, why is that? And this weird graph has even weirder name, like Ishikawa diagram, but like let's call it fishbone. And what it says, it's when you're having a problem, like I have a problem of delivering the dialogues like very, very late in the production, like you can always ask yourself, you don't need to use this graph, but you can ask yourself, just formulate the question, why is that? Is it the people? Are they slacking? Or is it like the organization is not paying them enough? Or is it the management? Or is it the process? Is it the tools that they're using, for example? And if you break down this into those causes, you then can follow that into the root cause. And root cause is actually something that you should address to fix the problem. And this is all connected. Like if you point on the postmortem notes, those few things that you want to fix and are fixable in your imagination, then you go and you place it as a problem, then you go with the causes, and then you go to the root cause, and you try to fix it. Try to illustrate the process. So instead of formulating it as like a 1, 2, 3 steps kind of thing, just honestly think about what is happening with the feature step after step. So it's not like the guy is doing a draft and then he's doing an alpha and then he's doing the beta. He's waiting for the script to be written, then the guy who wrote the script, when he plays the last dot, the other guy doesn't like wait for it and just grabs it and works on it. It's like, it waits. It's like, okay, then the guy, oh, you finished the script. Okay, so I'll take it up maybe tomorrow. All right, so the guy takes it up and he works on it next day, right? So he works on it, and then he says to his boss, you can review it. And the boss says, okay, maybe I'll do it tomorrow. And you know, the process drags, and it's not like it's happening only in the worst companies. It happens in the best companies. I mean, we won the contest for the best company this year, and still it is a practice. Actually, if you look at the process from the perspective of the task, that's a weird thing to do, but if you look at it from the perspective of the task is being alone. For the most time, it's abandoned. I mean, somebody like took it, did something with it, just wiggled it or something, like it went through the review, it bumped back, and then it waited for like months, for example. It's not the case with many processes. For example, models are being done like from the bottom to the top, like concept arts, similar thing, but some things like quests or cinematics, for that matter, have a great opportunity because those graphs offer you, again, the great opportunity for optimizations. So, what's happening then? Why this task is waiting so long? Because we're waiting for an artist. That's an easy fix, relatively easy fix, because we can just like hire more artists so that the task won't be waiting, because there will be many artists actually waiting to grab it and work on it. Or they are blocked by other departments. And this is another lead. So the investigation continues. So we pinpointed the problem that we want to fix in the previous project. Then we identify the root cause so that the people are being blocked by other departments, and then we can work on it. So why they are blocked. And we'll get to that in a second. All right, so what kind of methods we can employ to actually optimize the processes? We can optimize the pipelines, but be careful here. Sometimes the longer pipelines are actually better than the shorter ones. Why is that? Because imagine the situation when you're working on the draft, alpha, beta stage of a dialogue. So in order to make the alpha version, you need to have, for example, assets. You need to have finished models, finished set of animation, finished set of voiceovers. So you will be waiting, for example, a month for that, let's say. But if you say, and if you employ a mid-step of implementing placeholder voiceovers, models, etc., you can actually get the dialogue within a week, for example, or 2 weeks, and already review it and do the iterative process, and then go to the last phases when the final assets arrive, and then do the adjustments. So there's a longer process, but actually gives you more opportunities to optimize it later on and be ready for changes, be ready for improvements. Communication across departments and cross-departmental dependencies are things that you can always improve upon. Like, if you work on a structure, on a team, on an organizational structure that is broken down into different departments, there are always ways that you can improve the cooperation between them. Either with employing the new tools, new project management software tools, for example, or just organizational stuff, just mixing people and making them into interdisciplinary working task forces. We call it strike teams around some features. So for example, you take the guys from Quest department, audio, cinematics, location, and modeling, and you task them with, for example, doing a quest. So if you are not doing that, like, try to employ this in your company. Like, if your game is made out of I don't know, for example, levels, just try to, if you have enough people, of course, try to gather the people from different departments, task them with like one level or just like set of levels, a world or something like that, and then leave this responsibility only to them. Do not mix different people with this. And they will start thinking as a team. They will start thinking and organizing themselves around that feature that they are supposed to deliver. And it really, really helps with the organizational process, especially if you're a producer and people are organizing by themselves. All right, process automation, that's related with the tools, and also tools upgrade. That's a brute force. So if you run out of ideas how to do it smart, you can always like ask your investor for more money, for a better mocap system, for a better project management software, for updated tools, motion builder or whatever, that actually can help you with process optimization and speed things up. All right. Going forward with those examples. So I will be concentrating here about 3 examples. I already started with one, with dialogues. Let's go back and see how it was done in animation / models, so characters, it's called in our company. So what was the problem? The problem was that animators didn't receive the proper models for animating before quickly enough. So what happened is that the reason is that character teams recognized main characters as the most important thing to do, so they started with them. So we're starting a game and it features like few main characters. All right, what do? You start with main characters so that you have the difficult part out of the way. But then like animators said, all right, but we also like need to like animate, and the main characters are, for example, based on a human skeleton, which we already have animation for, and we need monsters. And the character says, well, you need to wait because we're doing main characters. Sorry, dudes. You need to figure out a way how to like do it differently or wait. And then we just wanted to change the priorities. That's a simple thing. Like this whole thing here, that's like very like rudimentary things. Only thing that you need to do is to ask yourself what's the problem, why it's happening, and what you need to do. Like for example, just like talk with the guys, like meet together and just say, all right, this is stupid what we're doing. And like we can do it better, right? Just change the priorities, nothing won't happen, only like you need to like calm down the marketing that will get your main characters later on, and it will be okay. The process will be improved, hopefully. That's the method. We are in the design part, right? All right, in the cutscenes, second example that we will follow later on, reviews are forcing many cutscenes to be reworked or significantly altered even after mock-up sessions, so like late in the process. So the cutscenes are being drafted, the scenarios, then we go through, in this version, when I joined the company, we go through mock-ups, so it's very expensive because you need to hire actors, you need to have a mock-up room, mock-up set, etc. And then you implement this in the game and you see the basic results. So it employed a lot of effort at the very beginning, and it required a lot of money to get from the idea stage to actually see something in the game. And then the director came and he says, this is bullshit. It doesn't fit the game. Like, erase it, scratch it, and do it from the start. So we started doing, but I joined the company 2 years ago, so we actually were in a pretty late version of the game. But we did the improvement, and I will be talking about this further in the first expansion pack, how we fixed it, because we wanted to use, of course, animatics. We don't even use the storyboards. We wanted to use animatics, and we had an idea of using a lot of different placeholders, which employed different departments. And the dialogues. So this is still, we are in the design phase. So dialogue sequences require a lot of adjustments throughout the production, and it takes too much time to deliver them. So what happened is that we set up a section, so the avatar is speaking with the NPC in the nice stage, right? And then after a month or 2 months or 3 months, we're getting back to that scene, and we noticed that it's not a stage anymore. It's a shelter, it's a hut, for example. So something changed, and we need to adjust our sequence in order to fit the changes that have been done during this, alone time that the task had. All right, so we had a hard time actually dealing with that, and we needed to do a lot of, again, placeholdering and use, for example, better methods to spread the knowledge. So we are like 200 people plus company, and like spreading knowledge that something has changed on the stage, for example, because we needed a bucket in the middle for some reason. Like, how do you notify, if you have like 30 people, how do you notify about this adjustment everybody in the company that's actually a stakeholder in this section? Because the changes are so vast and so multiple. Because they are doing this, for example, bucket is done in 5 minutes. So the guy has 8 hours to actually do damage to my scene. So that communication issue was the problem. And as my professor said, like, execution is the key. Like, if you have a plan and you do not execute on them, you forget about the changes, forget about the improvement, forget about the past, then you just like fail. You're just like, if somebody like face you with an argument that, yeah, I know that we talked about it to do it better, but I need to stay late and I can't, I need to stay during the weekend and I can. Like, come on, we talked about it, we've been there. Like, if we do it the same way, will run into the similar problems. You need to remember about those things. I have them printed, for example, on top of my my desk. All right, and examples. Monsters. This is a simplified process to fit the slide, which you still cannot read, but how does it go through? So monsters in character department, in which are free. We're having a brief with a monster of how he should look like, how he should behave, especially gameplay-wise, how you will fight with him. And then it goes through work in progress, review, back and forth, concepting, modeling, and then the part that actually interests us is animating, VFX, sound, and optimization on the last phase. And here, this is an example of a situation when we needed to change the priorities and actually do monsters first instead of main characters. So in the base game, the animators were just waiting for monsters, doing other stuff, like for example crowd animations, which are lesser priority. So people, if they don't receive the work that they should receive, like a higher priority work, we as producers need to figure out the way how to fill their time effectively. So we just take the lesser priority items. But it's not optimal. Like the solution, if you're doing that, it's not optimal. You can do it better. So in the base game, we didn't deliver that on time, so we failed in this. In the Heart of Stone expansion pack, we start by modeling monster models, then pass it on to animations, and then another problem appeared because cinematics also improved their process, and by improving their process, they stumbled upon some difficulties because they lacked placeholders, and they were waiting for final models. So on the Blood and Wine expansion pack, we employed the same strategy. So right now we are doing the monster models and then placeholdering everything, and then going to main characters. So those main characters are falling behind in the priority list. At the cutscenes, once we tried storyboarding, but then it stumbled upon many difficulties in regards of our imagination versus what's in the engine. And I'm saying that because, again, locations change, and exporting the location, for example, to Motion Builder is much better strategy actually than just like drawing something that you imagine or you see in the editor that's more or less like that. So you imagine this shot, and then you go to the engine and it doesn't fit. So we actually abandoned that approach, but we went to the animatic phases so that we can review and iterate on the very early stages. Like this is something also like very, very important. If you're doing something, if you're doing a process that actually has the deliverable, so the first effect in the engine very late, that's very, very bad. You need to push as soon as possible whatever you can actually and put it in the game. Like if it's a storyboard, all right, let it be a storyboard, but put it in the game, see already how it fits the overall scope and quality. All right, so what we did, we employed the animatic phases, then review this in the game already, then do the mockups, then do the alpha version, but all the time after mockups, uncleaned animation, also put it in the game. Alpha after integration, put it in the game. Facial animation, put it in the game. Already, like every result should be in the game, not like Motion Builder preview kind of director, let's see it on my desk in the engine kind of thing. Put it in the game, and if you have this possibility, like cook the game and then review this as soon as possible. All right, so with the base game, we had this problem of infrequent storyboards, no placeholders whatsoever, and lost time because of changes done later in the process. In the first expansion pack, we did the animatics, but again, we haven't had a lot of placeholders, at least not the final placeholders. I don't know how it is in your companies, but we have like several stages of placeholders. So it's an initial stage of placeholder which actually is worthless. And the final placeholder, which is actually like fits the sizes and the scale, the volume of an item, for example, that actually can be substituted. So the final placeholder, let's say, is a placeholder that can be seamlessly substituted with the final asset without making any damage and require a lot of adjustment. All right. And then in the second expansion pack, all right, thanks. In the second expansion pack, we employed a lot of improvements in this regard, putting everything in the engine, putting everything as a placeholder as soon as possible. And my favorite example with the dialogues. So what we did is that we waited for a draft. We're doing the draft alpha version, beta version, right? So that's rather easy, but we lost a lot of time because of, again, like especially lack of assets. So we did an animatic that was basing on the animation that we had, or like without animation. So characters were like sliding with each other, and we were waiting for the animation department to deliver the final assets. And that's also a mistake. If you can deliver whatever on every stage, like if you can deliver placeholders, deliver placeholders. If you have unclean data right from the mockup, like crappy data, put it in the game. You need to be aware and constantly update what you have and what you're working on. So we had the problems in the base game. We tried to fix it on the first expansion pack by adding notification, adding markers for the locations that had cinematics in them, so that location guys always saw that the location that they are in, the area that they are altering, has the sequence in it. So not to change it a lot, or at least contact this guy who is responsible for this feature. And then in the second expansion pack, we are trying to provide as much placeholders as possible, put the animation, rough form, and location changes are also marked, and also we employed an automatic notification system when somebody from location department is, for example, blockouting the section level. Everybody from the team has the notification that he has done this feature, or this feature has been accepted. So this location, when it passes the review stage on the location basis, the guys that are interested have the automatic notification on their mail all the time. And that's why, that's how they know that something changed or not. And the results. The results in production team, at least in The Witcher, are based mainly about landing dates. So we don't do story points, we don't do other kind of units that you might use in a different various methods, production methods. We do man days. Man days as a working days are estimated in a way. We start with the basic story, user story. So Geralt goes to blah blah blah, he does blah blah blah, he kills the monster obviously, and does something with the girl. And what we do with it, we break this down into the sections, so each producer is responsible for his own department and estimating how much time will it take to actually deliver each feature. So this is gathered on a departmental basis. Every feature from the user story, and you can imagine there are a lot of user stories in the game like a Witcher, like 100 hours plus, so it takes a lot of time to actually break this down into those singular items, but it is worth it, because right from the start, when I read, for example, a design of a quest, I can, within a few hours, I can estimate how much time will it take to my team to deliver this quest. So, but this is based on one, experience, two, the performance data that we gathered before. Because right now, I'm at the stage that I actually have a pretty good brackets, and I can estimate it without even consulting my team on the first basis, at least. Like just reading the script, more or less, I have the imagination where will we land. And how do we estimate the landing? We take the workload. So this gives us the workload. So for example, cinematics in this regard has like 18 man days. So we take the workload, we see, basing on the performance data, we see how much time the team is, the team, not to say wasting, but the team needs to actually iterate. So for example, the buffer can be 40%, 60%, can be 300%, depends on the area that you are working on. So those 18 man days plus the buffer, which is arbitrarily. We add here estimated absences, so like vacations or sick leaves that we estimate that the guy will need during this period. So that gives us the full amount of days that we need, and then we divide it. That's a very rough estimate, but we divide it by the amount of specialists that can be, and this is very important in this formula, interchangeable in regards of their specialty. So if you have a team of camera artists, animators, and model artists, they cannot be considered one team and used in this formula, because the camera guy cannot substitute the guy that's making models. So what we do is that we break each team into sub-teams, and for each sub-team we estimate that. So we have this amount of days divided by amount of people within the sub-team, and that gives us, for example, let's say 100 man days, and we need those man days to be networking days, so working days. And from now on, 100 working days, and we know where, more or less, assuming that everything will be delivered on time and the team won't be blocked, where we will land. Why it's useful? Because we can update this on a I wanted to say daily, but actually like hourly or by minute basis. So if somebody is blocked and it doesn't work like you wanted it to work, this formula actually gives you the opportunity to start fresh every minute. And if something like, for example, this workload is not like going as you planned, it's always this formula is always calculating it from the start. So we have, basing on this, we have more or less the dates where we will land with like every department. Some imaginary data here. So we see which department has problems and what needs to be mitigated here. So if something is stretching out, we need to do something about it, but that's obvious thing, but at least we know which department is in trouble, and we need to know it fast. It needs to be calculated very, very fast. And again, this is connected to what I was saying from the very beginning. If you have the data, if you have the ideas, you can estimate it fast, and then you can just put it into a spreadsheet, project management software, whatever you use, and have the update every time that somebody actually updates his or her task. So each task broken down into, for example, initial estimate, remaining estimate, and the actual cost. And this gives us, again, the workload. The workload is buffered. We have the estimated absences. We have the updated date. So this needs a daily update. This is something on the part of execution that is sometimes very hard to actually police, because people need to learn themselves actually to log work on every task that they do, every hour that they do. But this discipline pays off, because every day we know where we are at, how we are tracking, what we want to do with it, and if we have a plan how to fix it, then again, it's very easy to estimate how much our fixing plan actually helped. And the results are quite obvious. Like The thing that we did was a very big game, and we succeeded in the regards of the quality, we succeeded in regards of the scope. We didn't succeed in regards of the production timing because we postponed the date a lot. But we corrected that when in the first expansion pack, actually I checked it yesterday, it's 90 right now on Metacritic, with the expansion pack without the delay of the release, along with the 16 DLCs packs, which also I had the chance to coordinate. And in those two projects, we had the opportunity to actually implement those changes, implement those things that we learned during the base game, and it actually paid off. And right now, Blood and Wine for the next year is also coming pretty good. That's more or less the end of my presentation. I only just wanted to show you a couple of photos to invite you to applying to our company, since we have over 100 vacancies open right now. So hiring a lot because Cyberpunk is coming and we need more people to actually work on it. Thank you. You want mine? I don't know if I'm doing questions or...
Yes, I need to say questions. Okay, if there is no questions, I have one. It looked like when you show these slides, it looks like you used waterfall processes one by one. But have you tried to use some kind of agile methods, iterative?
Actually, it might look like that, but it doesn't. It's different methods in different departments, but for example, cinematics most of the time used Kanban, and they use Kanban boards in their management. Well, the main difference is back and forth within the review process, and the option of actually, especially in our company, is like that even if something is accepted on a draft phase, alpha stage, beta stage, then it may be erased and may be altered completely at the very, very late stages. So it's not that something is done and it's done. It goes away, and for example, we changed the prologue and tutorials within the base game a lot, even in the very, very late stages of the production, and that also like proves that it's not like written in stone in this. So yeah, like programmers use most of the time use Scrum, characters use Waterfall, and cinematics, for example, use Kanban.
So this is not about the methodology. It's about the collaboration between different methodology.
I would even add that it's a way of adjusting to the speciality that you are working on. So if you are working on something that needs reiterating, you need some kind of an agile process to actually cover that. If something is, like for example, characters, if the concept art is accepted, then you can go with the model, and we don't usually have a lot of corrections later on. So they use just like a straight model, and it's easier for them actually. The easiest, the better.
Okay, based on your workflow, so how much time you spend to pre-production?
Oh, that's a difficult question, because the pre-production also differs depending on the departments that we are working on. So, for example, how can we tackle that? So, for instance, cinematics have the first milestone of finishing all animatics. So, I would say that this is kind of a, but even earlier, when we are working on the stage of a story, And that depends. So for example, in the first expansion pack, I won't talk about the base game and how often did we change the story in the base game throughout the 3 years of process. But in the first expansion pack, we started working on the story in December, I guess, and then it has been revamped in January, February, and we actually started quests, design and implementation of the draft structure in March, and cinematics started drafting animatics in April, I guess, something like that, more or less. Yeah, so like, please note that we actually launched in October, so we finished production in August, September. So yeah, so like most of the time, like we spend a lot in iterating the story. So this is the most important part in our company, and actually the most difficult part, since like many people which are in the content teams, like I am, are always like complaining about the story guys, because every little change in the line that somebody says, like the guy says that he twisted his left leg, and the model guys, like for example, they twisted right leg, but it's already written, it's already recorded in 7 languages, so you need to, change the model. So it's just like one line. And we had those cases like every single day, that somebody dislikes something about the story, just one line, just one justification of an event, and we need to change the location, we need to change the cinematics, we need to change a lot of content just because this one sentence. So that's why we spent like, in regards of the first expansion pack, I would say even like half of the production time for let's say pre-production, drafting the story.
You talked about observation earlier, and I missed the point. What you do with the employees that lacking of work when they not doing what you want from them? What do you do with them?
So we ask people to do something and they don't?
Well, you said that they do their work in 50% of time, and 50% of time they don't do that.
Oh no, sorry, that's a misunderstanding. So in regards, as I said, like iterative process, in regards to the task is waiting, but the people are working all the time, and even like more than usual hours often. So what they are doing, they're just, if they cannot work, so they take the draft, they work on a draft. If they cannot work on alpha, they just take another draft. So they work on a draft. Well, the issues arise when they are actually inclined of working on something that is of a priority, as I said with the animations guys. So animators were inclined to actually work on monsters, and they couldn't because they were blocked. So they take another priority. So they take, for example, crowd animations, but this is a lesser priority. So they shouldn't work right now on the lesser priority. They should work on the higher priority. The question was what to do with a guy that actually doesn't do the work that he's supposed to do properly.
Do you have any such employees? Do you have any of those?
Well, it's not that some people. Of course, you can have various cases. I had one case when I, as a rather young manager, had to manage a person that has like over 50 years old. So you can imagine that there were some difficulties in regards of communication, and then sure, then there are some such cases like that. But usually, like people from my experience are not motivated enough to actually do what they are inclined to do. So they're like, I don't want to do it. I'd like, give me something interesting, not like another like quest items, like the worst thing that you can give to modeler, like quest items, like a key or coin. while he is supposed to do huge monsters, like impressive ones. So, for example, how we tackle that, we had this method, for example, in character teams, we had the method of an open backlog. So whenever a request came, it went to the column of like new requests or something like that, and the people could see it, and people could actually approach me and say, all right, I'm like booked for a month, but I can take this item. It's very like important for me to work on this item. Can I take it? Like, and then like you can see that the person is clearly motivated with doing something and this particular item, and then you can just like assign it to him. So we try to like ask the guys, for example, the same thing with the quests. We have a different story broken down into quests, and we ask the guys who wants what kind of quest, and just figure it out. Sorry, we ran out of time.
Можно еще пару вопросов? Буквально два.
Нет, нет.